In this new unit, we're going to talk about what's called transformations. So first, let's define what that means. We're going to focus particularly on translations, rotations, and reflections. So a transformation is the process of moving all the points of a geometric figure to create an image. If the image is congruent to the original figure, which means it's not changing size or shape, and that's important, maybe I should write that down, does not change size or shape, then we call that a rigid transformation, or sometimes you'll see in textbooks they'll call it an isometry. So we'll just focus on the term rigid transformation. So that's when it doesn't change size or shape. If it does change the size or the shape, then we call it a non-rigid transformation. And in this unit, we're going to focus on the rigid transformations. So let's look at some examples and decide, are these rigid or non-rigid transformations? So in number 1, you can see that the original picture has been rotated, but it's still the same size and the same shape. So that would be referred to, if I have it here written somewhere, magically. Apparently I don't. This is called a rigid transformation. And then you look at number 2. Now obviously that is changing shape. So that rope has been pulled, and so now it's formed into a triangle, but originally it was not a triangle. So that's a non-rigid transformation. And in number 3, it still has the same shape, but it did change size. It kind of was shrunken down a little bit. And that's actually called a dilation. And we're not going to focus on those right now either. So we're only going to deal with the rigid transformations, where they're not changing size or shape. So there's 3 types of rigid transformations. The first one is called a translation, or a slide, where basically our picture is just moving left, right, up, or down. The second one is a rotation, like example number 1, where the picture is actually rotated or turned by a certain number of degrees. And then the third one is a reflection, and that's when it's flipped over a certain line, whether we flip it over the y-axis or the x-axis or any other line in our graph. So those are the 3 that we're going to focus on. Today we're just going to start with translations. So a translation occurs when an image is formed by sliding, or translating, the figure along a straight path. And we need a visual to really understand what I'm talking about here. So I want to translate triangle ABC to its new image. And the new image, we can't call ABC because it's different. So what we use, I'm drawing a little arrow here, is we use these little tick marks. And we call those prime. So A prime, B prime, C prime. So the original just has the letters of whatever our picture, a triangle, a square, a rectangle, any shape, but it just has the capital letters for each of the vertices. But then after we translate it, we have what's called the image, and in the image we're using the same exact letters except we're adding these prime, these little tick marks up above. Almost looks like an exponent, like a power. Okay, so we want to take this triangle ABC and we want to slide it or translate it 3 units to the right. Let me underline that. 3 units to the right and 5 units up. And when we do that, 3 units to the right and 5 units up, we're going to get that. And so the way you can do this is just do one point at a time. So take point A. And if I go 3 units, 1, 2, 3 to the right, and then 5 units up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's my new point. And let's label that A prime. Okay, then I'm going to look at the next point. Take B and move it 3 units to the right, 1, 2, 3, 5 units up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. My graph has moved a tiny bit here. Oops. There we go. And so that point we're going to call B prime. And finally, obviously, we take point C and move it 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 5 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, we're right there. And we'll call that, you guessed it, C prime. So looking at the picture, you know the original was the blue triangle, ABC, and then the image is the red triangle, A prime, B prime, C prime. And you know which is which because of these little tick marks. So after it's moved, we add these little prime tick marks on it. Okay, so that's it. That's a pretty basic idea. So when I want to do, let's keep the picture here. When I want to write some notation, because in math we're always writing shorthand notation, if I want to explain what I did instead of writing out a sentence, I can use this notation. And throw my arrow here. And so what we say is we write x comma y in parentheses, so that's like an ordered pair, and then we draw a little arrow, and then we're going to write another ordered pair, and that's going to explain what we did. So since in this picture I moved each point 3 units to the right, that's 3 in the positive x direction. So our x number is increasing by 3, so we're going to write x plus 3. And then after we moved 3, then in the y direction we went up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, just moved my whole graph. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we're going to write y plus 5. So moving to the right is a positive number with the x. Moving up is a positive number with the y. If we had moved left 3, that would be x minus 3. If we had moved down 5, that would be y minus 5. And so this whole thing is how we write the rule for our translations. All right. What would be the rule for translating a figure 4 units to the left and 2 units up? This is a good time to hit pause and write down what you think the answer should be. And your answers should look something like this. X comma y, arrow, and then x plus or minus a number, comma y plus or minus a number. Okay, 4 units to the left, 2 units up. So I'm going to start by writing x comma y and an arrow. You do that for every answer. It's always x comma y in parentheses and an arrow. And now, 4 units left. Left would mean our x numbers are going down, so x minus 4. And then 2 units up, that means our y number is increasing, by 2. So that's going to be y plus 2. And that's it. Simple as that. Try another one. What would be the rule for translating a figure 6 units down? Once again, hit pause, write your answer, and then check. All right, 6 units down. So once again, x comma y with the arrow. So we're not moving in the x direction at all. We're not moving left or right. So we can just write x. If you want, you could write x plus 0. But we don't really even need to write that because anything plus 0 is just itself. So nowhere in the x direction, but in the y direction, we're going 6 units down. So that's going to take away 6 from our y number. So the goal here, the reason for writing this, is that eventually we won't have to draw a graph with these. You can just look at the coordinates of each point and apply the rule and get the new points. All right, let's work backwards. What if I gave you the rule? Describe what's happening here. XY is being translated to x minus 1, y plus 7. All right, let's start with the x minus 1. That means that we're going to move which way? 1 to the left. So left 1. And then y plus 7, in the y direction is up or down, plus 7 would be up 7. So left 1, up 7. And that's the rule for how to move that picture. And that's basically it. So I'd like you to do, you don't have a packet, it'll just be worksheets 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you'll be done.